I decided to do the track listing for the greatest hits by doing it chronologically, because I do write about my life and what's going on in my life, and so it's the best way of seeing why I wrote a song. And one of the things I did when I got my country record deal was have the right to release independent, non-competing records in between. So I went from Stronger Woman and that country album, my first country album, Perfectly Clear, to doing an independent record by myself. It's the first record I totally produced on my own. It's called Lullaby. It's a mixed genre record, just sort of me. And it was a record I'd been wanting to make really for quite a while. I put a few songs on it that I didn't write, which is something I really have never done. And Over the Rainbow is a song that I've been singing for really a long time. The first time I got to sing it, I was probably 20 years old, and I got to sing it at Carnegie Hall as Dorothy in an all-star cast of Wizard of the Oz. I wasn't famous, but I got to be there with Jackson Browne and Roger Daltrey and Natalie Cole, and I got to step on that stage and sing this song. And you know, when you say those lines, "I'm not in Kansas anymore," you know, I really felt them. It was amazing to go from being in Alaska to being homeless to suddenly getting to sing this iconic song. And whenever I sing that song, it really brings me back to that place. It also really marked a time for me when I was wanting to push myself vocally in a way I hadn't been on my own writing. Foolish Games is probably the only song I've ever written that's at all challenging vocally, and maybe Angel Standing By. But I don't tend to write to play to my singing, honestly. But songs like Over the Rainbow are perfect vehicles for that. And so you started seeing me move into wanting to do that more. One of my goals was to have a long career. You know, when I was 18, when I got signed to a record label, I tried to make decisions my whole career that wouldn't just be good for today, but would be good for a long run, be good for fans in the long run, allow me hopefully to have a career if I was that blessed. But there's not many role models. Very few women have long careers, but the ones that do are fantastic, you know, and there are heroes to look to, from Bette Midler and Cher to, you know, Madonna to, you know. But the singer-songwriters that were my heroes, Ricky Lee Jones and Joni Mitchell and the like, they didn't really have the same staying power that a Bob Dylan and a Neil Young are. That's a philosophical debate as to why. But I was hoping it wouldn't happen to me. And so I've always been looking in my career for ways to keep re-engaging fans, to keep getting to reveal new sides of myself and stay aggressive musically. And then the music business just shifted. And so it was like trying to handle those long-term goals on quicksand. Nobody in the record business has known what to do. Nobody has solved the problem of how we're not selling records. The only thing it's caused is labels to try and spend within what they make. Novel idea, all businesses should be run this way. But they hadn't been for really a long time. And the system still is really dependent on labels, but now labels take bigger cuts. They get what's called a 360 deal on an artist, where instead of just owning an artist's record sales, they own their sales, they get a chunk of their touring, they get a chunk of the whole artist. Which has made it a lot harder for artists because they owe all the money they spend to break themselves back to the labels, and by the time it's all said and done, by paying managers, agents, lawyers, there's very little left of the pie for them. So the new model, while fans are still getting music, behind the scenes, it's gotten tougher and tougher for artists to really make a living. You can have artists sell millions of records and still be out of a deal and broke at the end of it after having several hits. So, you know, everybody in the business, we're all scratching our head, what's the new model? My whole hope has been that as I'm getting older, as my career changes, as I'm having a family, as I'm wanting to tour less, as I'm wanting to be on radio less, as I'm wanting not to work as hard because I have a family and a child, how am I going to set up my life where A, I can still be creative, B, I can spend time with my family? How do you juggle those two in the music business that typically demands that if you're working a single, you're gone for 3 months, you're gone for a year? You know, how do you do that with a family? So one of my solutions was, or my experiments was Lullaby. Me and my manager, Virginia, found a licensing deal where I got to do this album Lullaby. There was no radio, no touring, no anything. I just got to make a record, and it got put in the Hallmark greeting section kind of aisle, or in the baby section. And so this album worked, as an album standalone for myself, as well as hopefully for children and moms wanting to put their babies to sleep, because it was all really soothing music. And I was amazed at the popularity of it. You know, we went on to sell almost 500,000 records. It's almost gold, and that's in a time when hardly anything goes gold with radio play. So it really let me know that my fans are there, my fans are engaged, and they're open to records that aren't just commercially viable. They're open to things that are sincere and authentic to who I am and where I'm at still. And so for me, Lullaby and Over the Rainbow really signify that.